Okay, so today we are going to be, this is our goal for today. You should to add three integers, evaluate expressions, and solve word problems. And our tasks today, you should have already completed your warm-up in Google Classroom and you had a sheet as well. We're going to check your homework and go over the warm-up answers. And then we have a new lesson on how we're going to add three or more integers. I can see a typo in there, that's okay. Evaluate expression and word problems, and then we have some homework. All right, so this was the warm-up that you did. You were supposed to put your answers in Google Classroom in the Google form, so you can grade it and send it to me. Then make sure you did it. Also, you should wrote your answers down on the separate piece of paper in case you needed to show any work. So the answer for number 1, 6 plus negative 3, they are different signs, so we should subtract, take the sign of the larger. So 6 minus 3 is 3. It's positive because 6 is bigger. Number 2 is negative 13 plus a negative 12. They are same sign, so we add and keep the sign. So 13 plus 12 is 25, so it's negative 25. 3, negative 12 plus 5, they are different signs, so we subtract and take the sign of the larger. There are more negatives because we have 12 negatives, so the answer is going to be negative. So it's going to be negative 7 because 12 minus 5 is 7. There's more negatives, so it's negative. For number 4, what is the additive inverse of 8? Simply just the opposite of it. So if it's positive 8, now it's negative 8. Opposite and additive inverse are very similar. They're really the same thing. Opposite of 65 is positive 65. And the last one, we needed to evaluate 2a plus 4b if a equals 10 and b equals 6. So what we needed to do was first substitute into the problem. So the original problem here, is 2a plus 4b. Well, a is 10, so where I see a, I'm going to put 10, so 2 times 10. Where I see b, b is 6, so I'm going to put in 6, so 4 times 6. So I have 2 times 10 plus 4 times 6. 2 times 10 is 20, 4 times 6 following PEMDAS is 24. So I have 20 plus 24, which is 44 for my answer. Okay, so that is it for the warm-up. Let's quickly go over your homework. So for the homework, just a quick review of the answers. Remember, same signs add, keep the sign. Different kinds subtract, take the sign of the larger. So 1 should be negative 20. 2 is positive 9. 3 is negative 10. 4 is 5. 5 is negative 2. 6 is negative 29. 7 is negative 35. 8 is negative 5. 9 is negative 4. 10 is negative 16. 11 is 11. 12 is negative 21. 13 is negative 38. 14 is 9, and 15 is negative 4. The big thing to remember is same signs add and keep the sign. Different signs subtract, take the sign of the larger. Okay, for our review, number 16, the record low temperature for Wisconsin is 54 degrees Fahrenheit below zero. Write an integer to represent the situation. Below zero, negative. So negative 54. Its additive inverse is its opposite, so positive 54. The absolute value of any number is positive, so it's positive 54. 17. It usually took Ben 2/5 of an hour to ride his bike to work, but on Monday his bike was broken. So he took a bus to work, which took 5/8 of an hour. How much longer was it to take the bus to work? So we want to find the difference of these two. So we did 5/8 minus 2/5. You can use your calculator here or get common denominators. But in the end, you should get negative 9/40. Okay, for number 18, it says evaluate using PEMDAS. We have 10 minus 8 times 13 plus 7 divided by 4 squared. Now, if you know how to type this into your calculator, you can get the answer in one shot. If you have to use the order of operations, the first thing for PEMDAS we have to do is what's in parentheses. So 13 plus 7 is 20. So we have 10 minus 8 times 20 divided by 4 squared. The next thing we have is 4 squared. So that's our exponent. 4 squared is 16. So I have 10 minus 8 times 20 divided by 16. Now I have subtract, multiply, divide. Multiply comes first. So 8 times 20, negative 8 times 20 is negative 160. So 10 minus 160 divided by 16. Now I divide by 16. Negative 160 divided by 16 is negative 10. So now I have 10 minus 10. And that is going to give me 0 for an answer. We can't see it on the screen, but know that your answer is actually 0. Okay, so now that you've finished your homework, please turn in your homework and please get a worksheet from the teacher in the room for your notes. Today's notes, we're doing evaluating expressions and word problems with integers. Please put today's date, which is 11/3, at the top in page 4. So we already know our integer rule review. Rule 1 is same signs, add, and keep the sign. Rule 2 is different signs, subtract, and take the sign of the larger. So now, we want to be adding 3 or more integers. So we have our first example, negative 52 plus 24 plus a negative 12. So the first thing that I want to do is circle any negative numbers, any numbers that are the same type of number. And negative 52 and negative 12 are both negative. So when I have two negative numbers and I'm adding, I add them together and keep their sign. So negative 52 and negative 12 is going to be negative 64. And then I just bring down the rest of the problem, the plus 24. So negative 64 and positive 24 are different signs, so we're going to subtract them. When we subtract them, we get 40. There's more negatives because 64 is bigger than 24. So the answer is negative 40. So the steps that I need to see from you are circling your negatives, the second line, the third line. The things off to the side, you only do those if you need to. Okay, for the next one, I have negative 31 plus 85 plus a negative 14 plus 12. So first thing I'm going to do is circle my negatives. When we have negatives, we know they're the same sign, so we add them. Negative 31 and negative 14 is going to give me negative 45. I also see that I have two positives. Positive, same signs, add, keep the sign. 85 plus 12 is 97. So now I'm going to have negative 45 plus 97. Those are different signs, so I am going to have to subtract. So 97 minus 45 gives me 52. 97 is positive and larger, so my answer is positive 52. So it's very important we have to remember those integer rules when we do these problems. Make sure you have that copied down. All right. Next section that we're doing is evaluating expressions. And you've done evaluating expressions before. That's just where you substitute in a value for a variable and then do the math. So our steps are to copy the expression, substitute the integers for each variable, which is your letter, and then solve using the order of operations, which we use PEMDAS. So the first question we have is evaluate each expression when x equals negative 36 and y equals 11. So that means wherever I see x, I'm going to put in negative 36. Wherever I see y, I'm going to put in 11. So for A, x is negative 36, y is 11. So negative 36 plus 11. Those two are different signs, so I'm going to subtract. And negative 36 plus 11, so 36 minus 11 is 25. 36 is bigger than 11 and it's negative, so the answer is negative. Letter B is a little bit different. We have absolute value signs. So the absolute value, we have to remember, everything inside the absolute value becomes positive. So in this case, we have the absolute value of 36, and then plus the absolute value of 11, because I'm changing the x for negative 36 and the y for 11. You must show your substitution step. Now I realize the absolute value of 36 is 36 and the absolute value of 11 is 11. So I have 36 plus 11. 36 plus 11 is 47, so my answer is 47. Letter C is one that you should star. This is huge. We want to star that because of this piece right here, the y plus a negative x. So when we substitute in y is 11, I'm sorry, I forgot to put 47 up. Y is 11, and then I have a negative x, and x is negative 36. So I use parentheses when I substitute here. So I have 11 plus a negative negative 36. When I see two negatives together like this, they cancel each other out, and it makes a positive. So I end up having 11 plus 36. Because if you are not something, you are something. So if you're not a negative, you're a positive. So two negatives in this situation, when they're right next to each other like that, make a positive. Then we have 11 plus 36, both positive, add, so the answer is 47. Okay, moving on. Solving integer word problems. You read the problem and we want to circle all of the numbers. You write an expression to represent the situation. Then you use your integer rules to solve. And you label all of your answers. Word problems always have to be labeled, so be very careful. So letter A, we have on Monday, the high temperature in Frostbite, Alaska was negative 5 degrees. On Tuesday, it rose 14 degrees. On Wednesday, it dropped 20 degrees. What was the temperature on Wednesday? So the first thing we need to know is that we have negative 5, we have a rose 14, so that's going to tell us positive because going up is positive. And then dropped 20 is going to be telling us negative 20. So that's important. Dropped means negative, rise means positive. So that means when I'm adding these three together, it's going to look like this. I start with negative 5, I add 14 because it's going up 14, but then I add a negative 20 because it's going back down by 20 degrees, and down means negative. So just like we did in the first piece of this lesson, we are going to combine our negatives. Negative 5 plus negative 20 is negative 25. And we add on the 14, negative 25 plus 14, they're different signs, so we subtract them. 25 minus 14 is 11, and there's more negatives, so it's negative. So negative 11 degrees Fahrenheit. And make sure you do have that label there. When we have word problems, we need to make sure we label. Letter B says, at its first stop, a bus picked up 10 people. At the next stop, 8 people got on and 3 people got off. At the third stop, 5 people got on and 12 people got off. How many passengers were then on the bus? So if we picked up 10 people, that's our first number. That's going to be positive because there's more people coming. Then 8 people got on the bus. That's positive. 3 people got off the bus. So 3 people are leaving, which is negative. Then we have 5 people got on. That's positive. And 12 people got off. That's negative. So that tells us how to set up the problem. We have 10 because it's positive, plus 8 because that one's positive, plus a negative 3 because got off is negative, plus 5 because they got on, and then 12 got off, that's negative, so plus a negative 12. Now I'm going to combine my negatives and my positives. I have a negative 3 and a negative 12, that's going to give me negative 15. Then I have an 8, a 10, and a 5. If I add all those together, I get 23. So now I have 23 plus a negative 15. Those are different signs, so I subtract. 23 minus 15 is 8. There's more positives, so it's positive 8. And my label is that we have 8 people are left on the bus, so 8 people are on the bus. Make sure you are copying in those labels. That is so very, very important. Okay, now that you are finished with your notes, please raise your hand so that the teacher can give you your homework for tonight. A homework is going over all this, and it's getting you ready for tomorrow's quiz. So tomorrow we do have a quiz. Thank you and have a wonderful day.